Ladies and gentlemen, the Warbosses of Da ApORKAlypse.
What is the crack, YouTube, and welcome to the latest episode of the Warbosses. I am your host, Scarnier, or Dwayne, depending on how you know me. On this episode, we're going to be talking about the hobby and mental health, how they interact with each other, and how it can be positive or negative towards your mental health as a coping mechanism or distraction from life. On today with me, there is guests Steve-O himself, L6+.
Hey.
We have Dame as well up in the top corner. And above me upstairs, we have Dread.
Down below you, mate.
Ah.
Hello, mate.
Always mucking it about. Well, there you go, down below or up. So yeah, it's a bit of a strange topic. I don't know if it's still a taboo, sort of. I think talking about mental health in general, especially at the time we're in now, it seems to be something that we need to sort of do because, as we've talked previously, going through, lockdown and having your hobby and just in general, I think our society seems to be more aware of it because it's not just a select few, should I say, or maybe that's, it's not just it's perceived as a few people. I think
it's not the people on the fringes so much as the majority, more so now.
Like nearly everyone, anyone in my family I've talked to, they're dealing.
Everybody I know has got some form of something going on that's causing them stress and feeling crap in this situation.
Yeah.
Everyone I know, pretty much. And even then you get them odd people that say there's nothing wrong and they're fine, but you can see and even in their tone, they're putting a brave face on it. Like you might speak to a family member on the phone and they're like, oh yeah, how are you? Blah, blah, blah. But you can tell that there's something there that they're not really saying. They're avoiding that because they're not feeling all that chipper really themselves. Hear it in their tone, really. So it's difficult for people to talk about it a lot of the time, I think, as well.
Yeah, it's makes you vulnerable, sort of. You know what I mean? You're sort of, you're expressing your true self when you're talking about these sort of things. So it's, you do leave yourself vulnerable to what other people, their input or their reaction. Maybe there's like a fear of being perceived a certain way by people, hence not talking about it as openly. Just mental health in general.
Like you said, that's changed a lot in recent years. I've seen it from personal experiences change over recent years. Within the last sort of 10, 15 years.
I agree.
I mean, I don't know if we're at this point in the conversation yet, but from my own personal experience, when I was suffering with mental health things in the late 90s, there was just really different. I didn't know anyone else who was on antidepressants. I didn't know anyone else that was experiencing things like me. That's not to say there wasn't lots of people experiencing it, because there was probably exactly the same amount. But I think people kept it a lot to themselves then. And
more taboo and less.
I didn't like to tell anyone. It was a weird thing, and it was funny the way certain people reacted, and but I just don't think you get that so much today. I'm sure it still happens, but the amount of people I know, like you were saying, that have mental health conditions of whatever sort, whether it be depression or bipolar or any number of hundreds of conditions, it's so common, like people to just come out. Like within my work, I've had people, I've employed people that have come and told me about things, and it's just it's a far less taboo subject now, but it's still for a lot of us, I think, especially men, we're not very good at it. Opening up and sharing stuff, like we're just a bit crap at it, generally speaking. We're getting better, but I think we still got a long way to come as a gender in terms of making ourselves vulnerable and sharing and talking.
Yeah, I agree.
Fucking
yeah.
Shit.
What I wanted to say particularly was that
could have gone either way. Could have been I agree or he's talking a load of bollocks.
No. like, I've found it, like, outside of this COVID thing, before that, you know, there's been times myself where I've felt a little bit down or whatever, and it's affected my hobby, and I haven't hobbied so much. Or sometimes I retreat into the hobby. It depends on what it is. I actually did a video myself about it once before. I think it was like called Finding It Hard to Hobby or something like that, where I was just talking about exactly that. And in that, I sort of said that, you know, what I've discovered then and what has really amplified and increased since has been the influence of our community on my own mental health. Because, you know, I know a lot of other people in our community are in similar situations or different situations, but we've got this thing that unites us, and it is someone you know that isn't directly in your life as well a lot of the time in the community, because we live all different parts of the globe and whatnot, and we all come together. There's a real unified sense of, you know, community and brotherhood that I really enjoy, and I think it's really healthy. There's some really good people in our community that are really good at, you know, pulling you up if you're down and whatnot. You know, there's some
second. I'm in full agreement with everything you just said. The community it's made going online a pleasurable place to be.
Yeah,
which is no easy fucking task. It's a positive environment. I have 2 social media accounts, one for like a normal day-to-day me, and then one by the 6+ Steve-O, and I keep it separate. And I barely touch my other one now. I'm always on that because it's just positive experience. It's not life draining drama and crap on there, which is can be really bad for your mental health when you're constantly being fed this depressing, oppressive information. And
I think there's a problem with some social media sites as well, where you can actually dislike things. YouTube being a prime example. We all produce on YouTube, and I've spoke to other YouTubers who, you know, they've actually used YouTube and the same way as many of us to sort of get doing more hobby and to use that positive.
That's why you started your channel in the first place when it started.
Yeah. Well, yeah, a lot of people do just to focus down on the hobby, and in doing videos, then they get a dislike, and that can be really disheartening to people, you know. And it's hard to understand why someone's doing that to you.
Yeah, you got to have a thick skin when it comes to YouTube.
You do, yeah.
Although that said, with the
that's
YouTube,
one of those elements of social media that's a bit unhealthy, in my opinion. I don't really agree with it. I don't think it needs to be there. Is why I kind of prefer myself like a platform like Instagram, where you put it up and it only can get likes. I mean, if people don't like it, they can comment, but then you can delete that. It's more for people that are producing and actually, you know, making stuff so they're supportive, you know. And I prefer positive environments where people are producing, and that's what we've got going on in our community, because everybody's actually contributing something to the hobby. They're either writing law, or they're doing reviews, they're doing videos, they're painting, they're building. They're just excited about the hobby. It's a positive.
I think one of the best things that comes from it is the contribution of positive criticisms.
Yeah, as well.
Comments. Like
The
people post their work. You paint
criticism,
whether you post a video or you post a painted miniature or a conversion or a piece of music or whatever else our community does, because they're a very creative bunch. Follow the link down below, get yourself on there. It's an awesome place.
Really knowledgeable people with great advice.
It's when someone posts up this is my first ever orc painted, and all the comments on there like, fantastic job, man, that's brilliant. Like that can be really boosting for someone and really give, because a lot of us are in sort of you're in a place with like the rest of your family or whatever, and you're going to rush down the stairs and go, look what I just painted. They're going to be like, yeah, cool, whatever. So it's nice to have that community, like-minded individuals that can appreciate, you know, the work you've done. You know, that's all. It's like I say, it's just a nice, positive thing. But I guess we've got to be careful not to take this subject too much onto the pros and cons of social media rather than the topic we're kind of supposed to be on. It was my fault. So I just led us down that route.
It's all part of it, though.
Yeah,
it's part of
it
the
is.
interactions.
At home, and that's the only link that they've got to people outside at the moment, because they're not able to go and meet people, so they're having to use social media. But I think it's important to make this. My point is to be making the right choices about where you linger in social media if you are vulnerable to feeling like you know, if you're, you know, you don't even have to be emotionally unstable or likely to get depressed if you're triggered or something. You don't have to be. You just have to be human. So you've got to choose where, you know, if you hang around with negative people and people that are just always bitching and moaning, it's going to make you feel worse. You know, but if you surround yourself with better, positive people that care and actually are doing things themselves that can inspire you and stuff like that, then you're going to be in a better mental state yourself. So, you know, do yourself that at least groundwork, that favor, and at least put yourself, if you're going to go looking for contact with people, put yourself in the right places. You know, that's my point.
Tim, did you want to say something before the other two, you know, get an oar in?
I might have forgotten it. Oof, I tell you what, it's been a while, hasn't it? No, carry on. I've forgotten it.
All right. Well, I'll get into, I suppose the meat of the subject and mental health and the relationship with the hobby. Like I can talk about me personally. I've had a strange relationship with the hobby probably for the last year or so, and especially the last few months, where the hobby, I've misused it. Do you know what I mean? I've kind of, myself personally, I've used it as a distraction, to, you know, to get away from facing the reality of some other things like in life or whatever else. You know what I mean? It's there's been having a healthy relationship with anything, and it could be replaced. It could be replaced with anything really. Like, you know, just using any specific hobby, or maybe working out all the time, or, you know, maybe you get really into music, just using something, an external.
Computer games are a big one, aren't they?
Yeah, computer games as well. Getting lost in them, using an external influence to get lost in, so that you're not dealing with what you should be facing. That sort of things. That's the kind of relationship I've had with the hobby lately. So I've been trying to distance myself from it a bit, and then come at it at a more healthy angle. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. Guilty as charged, mate.
Yeah.
As well. Guilty as charged. I can 100% relate to exactly what you're saying.
Yeah, I've done the same kind of thing.
Because I have got myself too immersed in it at points, and it's, you know, to the detriment to other things that I'm supposed to be taking care of. So it's trying to find, like anything in life, it's trying to find the balance. It's good in that you can get yourself into sort of that zone that you're into, that people talk about when you're painting. That's sort of, it's kind of like meditating, I suppose. I don't know, I've never meditated myself. You know what I mean? But
about balance, like, I mean, it's very difficult for people to try and, like, I'm thinking, well, usually I'm fairly balanced, but I'm feeling very out of balance. I think everybody's out of balance right now, because how can you feel balanced? Because your usual balance of life is completely out of the fray. You just can't do it. So
it's just totally thrown out.
Yeah,
it's totally
for everybody. Everybody. Even if you are a hermit and you stick to your home all the time, like, I mean, even those people, I mean, when they do go out to the normal world, it's not the normal world. That little break from their reality into something else is changed. So it's weird. It's everybody out. There's nobody that isn't affected, I don't think.
I think at this point, even agoraphobics are sick of being shut indoors all the time.
This is it. Yeah, it's a bit of a strange one at the moment in that regard. You would think, you know, being stuck indoors, if you're into this sort of thing, or if you're playing video games all the time, or, you know, you have these sort of interests, that you'd be fine with it. But sort of trying to keep track of your own behaviors and, you know, trying to be sort of self-aware, that's something I've really been sort of trying to do lately, especially with my hobbies, and trying to, you know, find the balance in them, as we were saying, Dread, you know, finding a healthy relationship with your hobby. You know what I mean?
I'm trying to find a healthy relationship with sleep at the moment. This month so far I've had 12 hours of sleep. Like, I've had 2 nights where I didn't sleep already.
I was similar, mate. I'm not quite as bad as you, but I've, like, I've had trouble sleeping at night because I think because you're indoors all the time. You're not, and it just, I'm awake at night. I can't settle the head. It's like all this unused energy. It's difficult to
I
describe.
think for me, like
but
the first couple of hours of the day, I can't really focus down on anything. I'm not able to be productive in the early part of the day. I'm productive in the later part of the day, which is the only time that I start feeling hungry too. So the morning and the early part of the day, I might as well just be out and about doing things, which is what I prefer to do in the mornings, and be out, and then come back and do things. Because
then it's a reward to yourself, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's a reward to yourself after working all day, or after being out and doing a load of errands or whatever you've been doing. In the evening, you chill out and you watch a movie, or you chill out and you do some hobby,
and this
or
is
you
when
play
I
your computer game, whatever.
Instead of a movie, I'll do this.
Yeah, it's a reward. It's an escape, and whereas it could be very easy now, and I did it certainly in the first lockdown and the first part of it. I really hammered on. I was like, I'm going to use this opportunity.
That's what I'm doing.
Because I'd been at work and I'd been frustrated by so many hours at work. I wanted to get home, get a bit of hobby done. It was frustrating me. So when I got that off, it was brilliant. And I went in hard and
inspired by that and seeing that you did that is exactly why I'm kind of pushing myself a little bit. I know I shouldn't be staying up all the hours of the night, but it tends to be that, the community will be on in the evening, and some of the lads are in different countries, so they're up later on there. And so, I can hobby and hang out with people.
I find
doing that until the early hours of the morning, and then I need a little bit of me time to chill away from that then before I go to bed. So, I can be up till 5 a.m. Easy.
I don't know about you guys, but I feel more creative at night time. Everywhere's quiet. The house is quiet. All distractions are gone, and that is the perfect environment to start your imagination off and be creative and be in that zone and be in that nighttime. Everyone else is asleep. Everyone else is safe. It's just settled and it's quiet, and all the noise of the world has gone. And then and so it's very tempting to do that. But like I say, the trouble is, do too much of that, it affects your everyday life. Yeah, you're a grumpy bastard in the mornings because you haven't had enough sleep. You're tired, and so it does throw everything out of whack.
Sometimes I will sit down and I'll have note paper in front of me. Like I'm really bad for notes. So many notes everywhere all the time, and I'm a terrible one for jotting down notes and making lists. But sometimes I'll be sat there and I'll be trying to think of stuff, or I'll be trying to write my law. I'm writing my own law, so I'm sitting there typing away at that, and I get writer's block or thinking block or whatever. So what I do is I take myself outside, put a jacket on, and I take myself outside. And in the dead of night, like you say, it's so quiet. There's nobody around, and you've just got the stars and the pure quiet and still, And often nights are quite still, less wind and whatnot. So it's a good time to sort of once you just get outside and you just get that sort of change of scenery and the breath of fresh air, you can sometimes all of a sudden just start generating thoughts. I find sometimes when I don't have a piece of paper is when all the ideas come to me,
Yeah, I must jot that down later. You never fucking do. I do that all the time.
But yeah, hobbies are a great thing to distract yourself, but you have to be careful that you're not doing it like Scar said, or like you're saying as well, so much that it then becomes the burn.
Yeah, and it can too much of anything, is not good for you, is it? And if it's at the expense of your relationships, or you're neglecting some other responsibilities, and it's getting in the way of real life, then that's when you're at a point where, okay, this isn't healthy. I need to, I'm having the same struggle with my son. He wants to play his Xbox all the time, and he wants to be on his tablet all the time. Mm-hmm. And I was the same at that age. I was on my Super Nintendo all the time, but I was like, but I try to explain to him, too much of this isn't good. You need a break from it. Come downstairs, play with your sisters and stuff. And it's harder at the moment because he's not at school and stuff. And it's at the time of recording this, it's Children's Mental Health Week. At the time of recording this, at home, you're watching this a lot later, but yeah, this whole lockdown and everything, it's had an effect on the kids as well, man. Seriously.
Mm. It's had an effect on other YouTubers too. I've noticed there's a lot of people that sort of dropped off for a while, or made less content and stuff like that, or have been making loads more because they're not down. I noticed. I'm sure you won't mind me mentioning. Rage Against the Dice. He had been away for a good while, like a couple of years, I think, and then he sort of come back, and he put a video out just last month about mental health and the hobby himself, you know, and how it's affected him. And I think he had a problem with a relationship as well, but like he's saying how the hobby has helped him through and the community involved and all the rest. You know, it's a common theme. You know, I've been noticing. You know, I do observe a lot. I take a lot of notice of what people do. You know, I'm a bit of a social observer. I always have been.
Are you deep in thought, Tim?
I was just thinking, does it help though?
What, the community?
No, the hobby.
It can be a double-edged sword.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because I was just thinking, I would say probably it's been not exclusively, but mostly a very negative force in my mental health recovery. I think, if anything, similar to Scar, partly because I used it too much as a crutch. But it was kind of, I think, one of the biggest things that you have to worry about, and probably one of the biggest issues with the hobby as a whole, is that it's a very easy trap of control, because everything about any kind of hobby, particularly one where you have strict rules, rights and wrongs, and processes by which you arrive at successes in particular areas, it gives you routines and things that you can do that sets your mind straight, but it also gives you this illusion of control, this idea that there's something in your life that you can have full control over, and that can get to obsessive levels. I've seen it negatively affect quite a number of people, and a lot of people get attracted to it because of this semblance of control, particularly when they don't have control over anything.
Well.
Yeah,
like, especially more so with like computer games and stuff. Like, you complete a game, you get high, you feel like you're achieving something. These games that constantly reward you with XP and stuff, and you're constantly climbing that, and you're getting that sense of achievement. Meanwhile, if you're too heavy into it, you're failing at life. You're failing at work, or you're failing in relationships, or something's you're not hitting, you're not where you should be, but you're getting that same satisfaction from like a false thing. Like, I know it's slightly off from what you were saying, but.
Well, no, it was more or less where I was going. It was that, like, it can be a bit of a trap, this idea of control, because you can control it, you then obsess over it, and because you obsess over it, it becomes a very, very big deal. And I concerned myself, and still do to a large extent, with things in the hobby mattering far more than anything else, because it was the only thing in my life that remained consistent. So for a very, very long time, I heavily emotionally invested in this. And then when it started to go to shit, which it did, which it always will, it was my last coping mechanism. And also, like, it's not exclusively, but there's a few people I've met in the hobby who were not good for me, and were not good for my hobby.
But obviously, well, not.
I apologise for that. Mate,
I
couldn't help it.
Are you suggesting, Dim, or I would kind of suggest myself, I don't know if you are suggesting it, that if you come to learn something inside out and you know all about it, and then a new edition comes along and it gets completely and utterly changed, and it isn't anywhere near, in your opinion, as good as the previous, what came before it, is it, the annoyance sometimes with yourself that, everything that is actually valuable is no longer even all that valuable, and there's going to be people that know better than you about what is actually canon, even though it doesn't sit well with you as canon because it's uncomfortably crap compared to what come before, is that
the analogy that I'll use is that the hobby's an awful lot like a relationship.
Oh yeah.
The way you
Oh, yeah.
described
Start
it,
off
I was
early
like,
on.
is he talking? It sound
Oh,
like
yeah, no, that's what I was
sound like
thinking.
a girlfriend, you know,
You-
like a failed relationship, like someone you love so much, and then they've broken your heart.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
it's the same.
It
You've got the
comes across
honeymoon
like that.
period. It starts off, it's purely positive, right? And then, as it goes on, you start to stop to overlook the negatives. And then you start to realize that you're spending every day being surrounded by this thing, and the negatives start to niggle, and then they start to become very obvious. And then one day, you're sitting at mealtime and you go, I really hate the way that you chew your food. It's really fucking annoying. And then a row, and then obviously no sex tonight. So, you know,
That's when you're become focused on the stuff that doesn't really
and
matter.
that's basically
What
like
actually you care about, really, at the core of it. And that's what I keep saying to you about hobby. It's like, yeah, but man, don't you just love making models? At the end of the day, like, forget all of this other stuff. Don't you just really fucking love to make models? It's fun, isn't it?
But you
What are they
cut
for?
off his closing line.
Yeah, but this is the.
I mean, to be fair, this one's the Dread Show, I think. But like,
No, but you're right though. When you're asking what are they for, though, I think we have to take into account that everyone has a different relationship with the hobby, in what aspects they're invested into it. So Dread is obviously more into kit bashing and the hobby aspect of it. So regardless of the
And now the
rules,
community aspect of it. That's now.
well, yeah, but
big
you know what I mean.
plus, right?
But you're more invested in that aspect of it, so you're happy enough with that.
Yeah, game dynamics don't really affect me.
Yeah.
Law kind of does, but then at the same time, like, it doesn't really matter because it's about miniatures and the game as such. My law is outside of 40K's realms of possibility probably anyway, so I don't care. I'll just go with my own flow.
So they're the important aspects of the hobby to you. So you'll view your miniatures differently to me. For instance, to me, the pieces are for playing the game. That is their function. Their secondary function is to be painted and hobbied with. That's just my personality interacting with the product. That's how I view it. They are playing pieces first and foremost to me to play a game. That's the approach of it. Now, me and you, Dread, have different approaches. Doesn't mean that either one of us is wrong.
Probably in the same camp as yourself as well, and that, like, this game and the miniatures.
I'm in a like a mythical camp that just enjoys all the different parts.
The problem I have is that the bit that I derive the most amount of pleasure from is kind of gone. Two principal areas. Three actually. Thinking about it, I used to like the lore. I don't anymore.
And I'm a poet.
It's changed, and I don't like it. I used to like the game, and I used to like the synergy that 40K had managed to achieve between the hobby and the game. And now it's just the game, and the hobby just trails along after it in a significantly more pathetic way than it used to. And also, I kind of liked, I very much like the application of skill in gamecraft, being good at particular aspects, technical aspects of the game that distract from all the dice that you're inevitably going to roll, because it's a fucking GW game and they fucking love dice. And part of that was templates, part of that was guess range, part of that was other mechanics that revolved around decision making. And there's some of that now, but there is significantly less of it. And I found other games since that do that better. And there was a time within recent memory where I didn't have access to any kind of club that would allow me to play anything else. So it was either don't game at all after spending 25 years of my life having a war game in it, or play the specific Games Workshop games that were allowed to be played in a Games Workshop store. That was my only option. And it made me quite annoyed. And very much now, my situation has improved, but not drastically. Like, there's a couple of games that I've persuaded my local friends to play, but they are largely very pro Games Workshop, and I'm not anymore.
I think the important thing to remember is that Games Workshop didn't invent the hobby; they just introduced most.
No,
of
but
us
they
to
do
it.
dominate it, and that doesn't
They
help.
do dominate it, and they introduce most of us to it. So that's why we look to them like a big mummy or daddy. But at the end of the day, they're a private company. They do not represent.
It doesn't matter
the
if
actual
I
hobby.
don't do that when
The
other
actual
people
hobby
do.
of sitting. No, but the thing that you love about the hobby, that whole sort of like, you know, what they used to do in the White Dwarf, where you could, you know, they'd show you designs for how you can make something for yourself and cut it out and blah, 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 and make it out of toilet roll tubes and blah, blah. That is them borrowing from the hobby before they had created enough of their own stuff within their own house. But it is their own house. It's just like Amazon and YouTube, but belong to them companies. I wish personally that there was a free for everybody video platform that isn't run by a big corporate company, that it belongs to everybody. Same way that I wish that the hobby was more free and had a central hub that was outside of big corporate interests, but there ain't. But you have to still recognize that Games Workshop isn't the hobby. They're just what introduced you to it. And you know, that it's not their responsibility, although you would like it to be.
Yeah, fucking
to
is.
introduce you
They
to
make
the
millions off it every year.
I think
They make
I
millions
think
off
now,
it. It is their responsibility. If they don't
as-
want that responsibility, they should stop.
as much as I
Not
would
really.
like to, well, I'll let me cut in because I just want to, as much as I'd like to debate with Dim on certain points he's saying, I don't think like
We're not here.
that
to
was
argue
generally
with-
he.
yeah.
I don't think he was
Yeah, let's not argue about
listing
Games
his concerns about it and stuff. It was more from a point. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dim, but rather than wanting
Context.
to debate, it was putting context into how you relate it to your mental health.
Because the thing
And
is that I realized that I had to abandon a lot of that if I
Yeah.
wanted to feel better.
And I think as well, you've done quite a good job. While I still don't agree with you on a lot of night stuff, we don't, but I have a greater appreciation of why you feel the way you do.
I mean, ultimately,
Certainly.
the
Mhm.
debate of that doesn't really matter because I've already made my
Yeah.
decision. This is kind of the point that I really want to make because it's like the thing that always spins me out a little bit, and this is something that I can relate back to the main topic, but it's like there is nothing worse. Like than when people say, "Oh, I wish you'd see the good stuff that's in the new version of the game. I wish you'd see the good of the new game. I wish you'd see the good of new Games Workshop DM. You know, I wish you'd see all of those positives." I fucking see them. Do you like?
Why are they saying that though? Are they saying that because they want you to play with them? Is it because they want you as a friend to come and enjoy what they're enjoying? Is it because like I
mean,
imagine
some of them probably are.
in much
Some
the
of
same
them
way
are
that you're
just
probably saying,
some
come
of them
and
are
play
ultimately just
Gaslands with me, and they're like, and you go, come
yeah,
on.
but
like,
some
come
of
and- you
them,
might
some
see
of
this
them
is
are
good
online
fun.
though. Some of them are online, so
Yeah.
some of them are defending the thing they like.
I don't think people necessarily deliberately trying to change your mind. I mean, it's more so.
No. Hang
clear
on. I haven't made my point yet. Hang on.
Come on, finish.
So-
your point, go on.
So, like, kind of the point I was moving towards is that I see stuff like that as that to me is an equivalent of the people who, when someone sees you're a bit down, they walk over to you and go, "Cheer up."
Yeah,
Like, nothing is more annoying than that,
yeah.
other than Matt Ward's existence.
Depends how
But
it's delivered.
Why,
just
why
saying,
don't you just
oh,
lighten up?
There's
Why don't you just lighten
loads
up?
to love in ninth, blah blah blah. That's one way to go about it. But you could actually say to someone, "Here, look, what I want, want to understand why you don't like it, and have you tried this? And have you tried?" Like, there's different ways to go about it. It's just like just throwing shit at someone just to go, "Well, you're not, worth listening to because you're stupid," or there's actually going, "Okay, so why?" And well, I think differently because, and if that person doesn't want to have the conversation still, then it's because they're sort of stubborn.
Well, I think there's a big
Yeah,
difference.
but
there's a
there's
big
also an
difference
awful lot of
between-
assumption that I cannot figure out whether it's good to me or not on my own, that I need assistance to see the good stuff. When I see the good stuff,
Knock that
it's
down,
just
though,
not enough.
Too.
It's just not enough. It's not what I want out of the hobby. It hasn't been for quite a while, actually.
Part of the relationship with the hobby is how much you have to invest yourself, both financially and emotionally. Each of us individually will then decide whether that investment is worth it in the end for us. And we can all come to different conclusions with it. And even looking back over the hobby and like our relationships with it individually, like even myself personally, looking back at the hobby and how the dynamic has changed for me. Like when I was 19, I can remember every guy in the Dublin Games Workshop store knew me by name because I was in there every week and I enjoyed it and I was so invested into it. But I was doing that when I should have been doing something else. I should have been applying myself to coursework. I should have been going through college. You know what I mean? This is part of the double-edged sword for me is I invested in myself so much. And by design, we are supposed to get invested into it. I'm not passing the blame along. It is my fault that I got too invested into it and I used the hobby as a distraction. At that
Where you
part
are
in
now,
life.
sat here with us three, man. You know,
What more could I look for in life?
you must have done something really fucking bad.
Oh, I'm paying. I must have been a prick in a previous life. I'm paying for it now. I can guarantee that much. But it like the hobby is designed for you to invest yourself in it. You just need to balance how much of yourself you invest into it and how much of your energy you put into it.
That's good.
And
I
yeah,
like
and
that.
don't fall into the trap that I did with it and have done previously, where it's you use it as a distraction from life, pretty much.
In days
That's what I
past,
did with
men,
it.
men of middle age and above, same sort of age of people that are in our hobby would go and take themselves down the shed or lock themselves in the attic and build miniature trains, wouldn't they? It's the same thing. It was sometimes a bit too much. It was just they were shutting themselves away from life. Other times it's a healthy hobby.
It's just about the relationship with it. That's all, and I'm
I'm
balancing it.
sure like a lot of our viewers are probably related to a lot of what we're saying.
Sure.
Because the type of person that enjoys the hobby enough to subscribe to YouTube channels about the hobby, because we are very much a niche within a niche. I know loads of people that like the hobby, but not many of those consume YouTube content about the hobby or even that where it exists. And then people to then join Facebook social community groups about it. So I'd imagine that a large portion of our viewers are what we would probably describe as a dirty word, but hardcore hobbyist gamers. They're in the hobby in a big way. And I imagine that they're all relating to a lot of what we're saying, about getting too... I'm sure we're all guilty of it to a greater or lesser extent, if we're honest with ourselves, that it can take too much time away. And sometimes, whether you're, neglecting,
especially
like
for
say,
someone
other
like yourself,
responsibilities
you've got a
and things.
family and stuff.
It's hard, and I play that balancing act all the time, and I don't think I've always got it right. And that can come with a lot of guilt at times when you get a little bit too consumed within your own head. And it doesn't just have to be the hobby; it can be whatever, really. It's tough because you need some time on your own to clear your head and stuff and think and be creative. You need that. It's healthy. It's good. But you also need interaction with other people, and you need to be taking care of your responsibilities and looking after your loved ones and whatnot, and trying to get that balance right. It's something that we're always trying to do, and we're always failing at and then fixing and addressing and then failing again. And it's a human condition, isn't it? We're just born to sort of fail over and over again.
I think the important thing for the viewers, if they're feeling sort of down, the important thing to first of all is to turn to them people, your family, the people that you are with, turn to them first, and then you've got friends outside of that in the community that you can reach out to, and then obviously the professionals.
This is probably a good time to say that if you do have serious problems, you should seek professional help.
Yeah. Don't ask us for God's for us.
There are some professional YouTubers out there that are professional counselors. Actually, I wrote down the name of one
that would be a case of the patients running the ward. I'll tell you that.
I watched Julia Christina counselling, and she was very good. She's got a hell of a lot of subscribers.
Still, I would say you want some person-centered. To being the medical shithead on the fucking Warboss is not that's a low bar, by the way, because I'm not high up in here, so. But you will need some person-centered care. So don't just watch some YouTube videos. Like,
no,
get some
Well,
counselling.
what we'll do, guys.
Talk to your GP. Talk to your doctor.
I think it'd be right of us as well just to post numbers and links to
things,
good sources. Yeah, things.
Don't be ashamed. If you need the help, don't be ashamed.
Just get the help.
100%.
Get the help. Yeah.
So, like I said before, this is kind of part of my turnaround thing, and I've been thinking about this ever since Scar said it. Just the whole thing of shifting your investment. I think that's part of the reason why I've decided to take just such a big leap away from 40k. I've played 40k since mid to late second ed. I had 2 breaks from it. One during 5th edition and one during 6th edition. A very smaller one from 6th edition. And also quite a big break in 8th edition, but that was basically around the time I decided to sort of just quit 40k, more or less completely. And I play it from time to time, not really that into it anymore. I've not been into it for quite a long time. And I think part of that was me realizing that I was investing too much of my emotional and attention on something that wasn't really bringing me an awful lot of happiness. And the fact that I was able to realize that was because I went and got help, because I did CBT, because I did some counseling. And I'm not going to tell you the ins and outs because I don't really want you to use methods that you should really get from a professional who knows when it's right to give you them. But the general gist of it is that I learned how to deal with things that cause me anxiety. Anxiety is my main problem, similar to Steve-O. I've got big anxiety problems. I've always had them and I'll always have them, but I've found ways to deal with them. So counseling worked really, really well for me. I don't need pills. Some people do need pills. Don't feel bad about the fact that you need pills. If you need pills, you need pills. Simple as. The fact that if you can get yourself into a position where you can function better, then you can make better decisions about your life. And that will improve things. Trust me. And one of the things that I realized was when I encountered sort of problems. I mentioned earlier that there was someone in the hobby that wasn't particularly good for me. And part of the reason why I don't bother with them anymore was getting to that point in my life where I realized that I could cut off things that were a problem. And for me, kind of game structure has become a bit of a problem. I'm still carrying resentments that I had. I mean, for fuck's sake, I made Matt Ward a running joke on this show, right? And the reason I make that running joke on the show is I genuinely hate that man. I think he absolutely played a decisive role in ruining the lore that I cared about, that I spent far too much time paying attention to.
I think it's when it got to the stage when the police were having to forcefully remove yourself from outside his house in midnight when you were yelling at his window, you ruined my life.
No, but here's the thing. Here's the thing. If I met him, I would totally fucking tell him what I think of him, but I would leave it there. Like, I joke about, like, I've joked about hitting him, but I never would hit him. Like the fact of the matter is that, like,
how could you? As your brother-in-law.
I mean, he's such a twat. But never mind.
Just make Christmases awkward. You know what I mean?
More so than they are already. Your little bit to just help.
Anyway, hang on. Stay on fucking targets.
Stay on target, boys.
So, the reason that I bring him up is just to say, look, like, I was getting too obsessed about it, but I still have that resentment. And it festers up sometimes. It's part of the reason why I snark in these videos. And I dial it up quite a lot for comedic effect. But it does still bother me because obviously I'd invested a lot emotionally in the direction of what 40k was and financially.
Yes.
And I think there's a little too many people who are quite willing to poo-poo that, and there's a very strong prevailing, particularly at the moment, because new GWTM is being nice at the moment. There's a very, very strong sort of wind of positivism, where thou must be positive, because if thou was not, thou is a hater, and haters are bad. And
Companies
in a situation like right now where everybody's feeling down in the dumps and probably wants a good moan every now and then, that's not a good thing to do. And I would just say, like, look, just chill, right? If someone doesn't like your thing, it's not a personal reflection on you and, you know, on a reflection of what you like and somehow making you somehow a lesser person. Like, let them have their little rant and let it slide instead of starting fucking flame wars over
But
whether
that
or
comes
not
back
Game
to being
Workshop's good or
invested,
not.
though. That comes back to being invested in the hobby. You've invested yourself into it emotionally. Therefore, if somebody slights something that you've invested yourself emotionally, you're going to be defensive about it. It's
so much like being a fan of a band for years and years and years, and you're a fan of them, and then they start releasing crap albums, and you know all the early stuff, and it's really good, and you know your opinion of the late stuff is crap. They're like, a band should listen to its fans, and it, you know, it can lose.
And I've done it similar to Dim, not with the hobby, but I've done it with music and film a lot. You know, I've played, like, I don't know, like back in the old day, a CD to a friend, and they're like, oh, shit. And I'm like, oh my God, I just don't know if I can feel the same about you right now. Like, you kind of just, or like, I've sat down like before the shit ones, but if someone I liked and respected said to me, no, I don't like Star Wars, I'll be like, what? Like, no, what? That shit in it. And I'll be like, I don't know if I can be friends with you anymore. Nowadays, I kind of accept it, a bit more accepted, but so I do kind of, I do kind of relate. I just never really had that with the hobby side of things. I don't know. I have a very different story to Dim, really.
Because you put a lot of time and money and effort in something, especially like, for example, in my experience, like I'm building things, converting things to fit in line with Games Workshop stuff, and it ain't. What?
Do you want to let Steve-O finish and then?
Oh, sorry.
I wish I'd recorded the conversation we had on the phone earlier. Yeah, my story is very different to Dim's in terms of the hobby and my experiences of mental health conditions. My mental health conditions probably started a lot earlier than I recognized them, but I recognized them that there was an issue just after I left high school. I was in sixth form, and that's when I really, I don't know, something triggered, something snapped in my head, and I was suffering with a form of OCD that went undiagnosed for most of my life, up until quite recent years. And I suffered with depression because of that, suffered anxiety because of that. And it all generally stems back to that, this obsessive compulsive disorder, or this form of OCD that a lot of people like to think OCD is just about keeping a tidy house and stuff. If people have seen my house, they'll know that's not true. But it can take all kinds of forms. It can be obsessing over thoughts in your head. It can be obsessing over worries and fears, and it's not all about and it is uncontrollable. It is, or at least it can certainly feel like that. Feel like you literally have no control over your own mind. It's constantly playing back and repeating on something, and you are desperate for it to stop.
My situation is an awful lot like that.
Yeah. I know we obviously, we
every word you just said sounded like my experience. Just
well, good. That's good. At least, but
anyway, sorry.
I think that's right. That's and yeah, that's gone through my whole life. And I mean, to the one point in it was 99, I was actually put into a mental institution for want of a better word. I don't know if that's what the right term to call them or whatever. In the 90s, you know, I had people calling it the Nut House. I was in there for a while, and it was a building that looked like an old Victorian building, like a proper scary looking place, like quiet, long, grand halls and stuff to get to your ward and stuff, and they had the secure wards and things, and I met a lot of interesting characters in there, and heard some stories that were mad for want of a better word, just like seriously, like I couldn't believe what I was hearing from some people and their story leading up to that. But yeah, crazy place, real scary looking place now, but it did me a lot of good. It gave me like respite in it, sort of. The stigma attached to it then was severe, like, and the way people talked about it then was so different. And I remember to the point where I'd not long come out of there, and I'd thrown everything away over this bad time in my life. I'd lost a lot of friends. I'd lost my home. I had to move back with my parents. I was a mess. I'd lost everything. I had to start again from scratch, and I got a job for an agency as a cleaning job, and you could be anywhere, any day, doing whatever. So the guy took me on there for him. My first assignment, was at the mental hospital that I'd just come out of. And I was like, oh my God, I can't tell him. I don't really feel comfortable going there because I've literally just come out. Nowadays, do you know what? I think I would be okay saying that. Or I'd feel less shame, which was what I felt at the time. I didn't want, telling anyone. I was too embarrassed, so I just sucked it up and went there. And there was like a few other guys I was working with, and we had to clean those big
people there as for taking care of you. Like...
Yes, I couldn't have got to where I am without you.
I'm sure they're glad to see you come back and tidy up behind yourself.
I told you I'd bounce back, didn't I? Eh? So I just got to unclog this shitter.
The management were like, finally, he's back to clear up his mess. Finally.
So no, I was there with a group of other guys, and we did our day's work and met these guys, and we were having a good laugh, and we were chatting about all sorts, and out on the fag breaks and stuff, and getting on well with these guys. And then they come down. The guy, he said, "Yeah, you've done a great job, guys. Can you come upstairs? We've got this other bit we need you to clean now." And we're like, "Yeah." And we follow him up there. He's just through this way, and we start going through the records room, and it's just filing cabinets and shelves full of files.
And tell me you locked you in.
No, we're walking through this thing, and one of the people that's working with me goes, "Look at all these files. Look, one of them files is another nutty bastard, look, or like a mental case or something." I'm just like, I sort of, yeah, I know.
That whole filing cabinet's got your name on it, Steve.
I don't think nowadays you'd get that sort of response from many people, because, and we all make jokes. We all make sort of jokes that have people as targets or whatever, and but I just think that general way of thinking, as a lot of things, the way our speech has changed in the last 20 years, how certain words are cliche, things, and we're more careful now what we say and things, and what we're wiser as well to a lot of things, but I think there's still a bit of work to be done on that front. There still is a certain level of stigma and stuff, especially with men. But yeah, the hobby for me has generally been, I think a lot of the worst things that have happened in my life have happened when I've been taking a break from the hobby, actually, and possibly my attentions were on less healthy things, and I don't know, partying and stuff. And I think there's probably been a bit more bad things come into my life as a result of a different kind of lifestyle. And the hobby has always been, for me, a very safe place. And while, believe it or not, as a fan of the game and a fan of 9th edition, a lot of what Dim says in criticisms of the edition, I'm kind of like, yeah, I miss that too. And yeah, I agree with that. That bit used to be better. But it's not enough that it gets my reaction of being like, it's crap. I still think overall it's a really good, a strong edition. But see, I won't even look at the screen. I knew he was shaking his head.
Played it.
But I do. Although I'm a big fan of it, I do recognise a lot of the criticisms and things, and understand that. But yeah, so for me, I think Mr. Positivity over here, Mr. Hype Train, it's always been a positive experience for me, and it's been my happy place. And it may have hurt me at times over the years, like any relationship does, but she hasn't done the dirty on me like she did to Dim. GW, I think, has done something and really broken his heart. And she's tested me from time to time, but I still love her.
GW, please write to him and apologise.
I'm still happy with GW. You know, I've made my pledge for better or worse. You know? But
I mean,
yeah,
we didn't get an apology when they had the opportunity, so I don't think I would get one.
Oh, well, you never
directly.
get it, mate. They're a private corporation. That's my point.
I think as well. I just want to just say one
They
last
joked.
thing.
They made a joke about it. That's where their priorities are.
Go on, Steve, say your one last thing.
One last thing is, I know I've gone quite long and deep dive in sharing personal story in that. And when we were chatting about this beforehand, Scar was chatting about, we were chatting about how much do we want to share of our own personal stories of mental health. And it's a strange thing to do. While we encourage everyone to talk more, and especially to people you trust, and to train professionals, going on YouTube and doing it is a very different thing, and you tread a very fine line, or you can feel like you're treading a fine line. I certainly feel the last thing I'd want to come across as is someone looking for your
fine line coming on a show with us three, mate.
looking for your not empathy, but looking for your sympathy, or being a poor me story or whatever. It's not about that. It's about, I think the more you talk about it, the more other people hear that.
I had my poor me story lined up. Hang on.
Other people hear it, they feel more confident to share. If someone's being very open with you, it lets you know it's sort of safe for you to do the same back, and you each share a little bit more, and it lightens the load. It helps, and even if you feel no better, at least you will know that you're not alone and you're not a complete oddball and a freak. And because that is what I used to think in the 90s, 18, 19. I thought there was something wrong with me, but once it's got a name, it's easier. It kind of answers something.
One thing that's beautiful is there isn't a stigma about being in this hobby anymore. Like you used to feel a bit sort of weird.
There is, but less of
being in the hobby. It's kind of cool now. It's getting that way. Anyway.
But I think what I was saying, the reason we're doing this video really is to hopefully, if anyone watching this hears any of our stories, or the four of us idiots talking, and we make any kind of sense to you, or just in some tiny way let you know that you're not, you're not abnormal. Like, it's so much more normal than you realize, and you're not alone, and there are people to talk to, and everyone's, hopefully us doing this will enable you in some small way to feel that you can do it too, and share your story, and
it's okay to
help.
ask for help.
Yeah,
it's okay to ask for help.
I'll shut up now as well.
The whole thing about us doing this really is, if we talk about it, then we normalize talking about it, and then it's easier for people to express themselves then. I think that's the whole point of us doing this episode. Is it's something we've all touched on in life: mental health, the ups and downs, the hobby, its interaction with it, the good and the bad. My bad with it, I've had good with it as well. Very recently, talking about what happens if I was to quit. You know what I mean? What difference would I have in my life? That type of thing. And because I've I'm going through shit. Like, I'm still trying to work stuff out. I've only very recently gone to get professional help. I've only, the past 3-4 months, I'm trying to work stuff out. I'm still trying to figure things out for myself, and I'm starting to, look at my own personality and how I behave and why I behave the way I behave, and, things like the hobby and the relationship I have with it, and why do I have that relationship with it? Why did I abuse it the way I did? Which is what I did. I sort of abused the hobby as a distraction, which is, that's my fault. You know what I mean? And it's trying to understand that. So I'm at that stage myself where, I'm trying to work things out, understand how I think, why, certain parts of me act certain ways, and trying to catch how I think about things. I'm at that stage. I've a lot of work to do on myself personally, and I know that. But it's the first step is going and finding help, finding professional help. I know it's not easy. Sometimes trying to talk to your family or, you know, those closest to you. Sometimes they can be the hardest people to try and reach out to, because you're afraid that you might be judged, or, you know, that, you know, some people may think you're just looking for a you know, pity or sympathy or whatever else. You'll have these thoughts in your own head. You know what I mean? That's sort of that.
Well, I've got to say, I am really very personally grateful that all three of you have stuck at this, and not to put any pressure on you, because I don't want to do that at all, but I'm really glad that you have, because I think what we've got is really great, and I, you know, personally really enjoy it, and I think it's a good mechanic for us all, support mechanism. So like, I'm glad that none of you have given up. You know, I know you've been tempted. I know each one of us
a big virtual cuddle right now, Joe.
Each one of us have been tempted to give it.
I'm sending you one of them cuddles that lasts a few seconds too long, that it becomes socially uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It's deep.
Thanks. I felt that one.
And when we meet up, they can finally fuck.
But that's part of the
We're double teaming you, Big Bear. Don't worry. We got it planned.
You can fucking try and mount this.
That's part of.
Hang on. Well, I did a moment ago.
Fucking Sherpas have tried.
I was interrupting Steve a little while ago.
Two spider monkeys attacking a
I wanted to
orangutan.
say something in defense. I want to say something in defense of what Dim was saying earlier about like feeling invested and people sort of poo-pooing that. And I totally do understand that, because like, I have spent a lot of time creating miniatures that then the rules, the next codex, have shit all over, and then all of a sudden no one wants it. You've literally just finished a model and it can't be used anymore. The particular thing being the looted wagon. That's why that butt hurt me so badly when they changed it to looted wagon and not being able to.
Butt hurt was felt by us all on that one, mate.
Yeah, but I had about 3 Lehman Russes up on eBay at the time.
When 8th edition hit, I had 10 HQs, and when it hit, I could use 2 of them. Game legal.
And so you did something. You invested time in a hobby to actually make something more than just, you know, the standard. You actually went above and beyond and invested yourself time and effort into the hobby to do something exciting within the limitations that this company has set. So you're like, okay, fair enough. This is the game and this is the rules. And okay, all right, cool. This is the law. Brilliant. Okay, I'm going to make something exciting within that. And then by the time you finished it, they've shit all over that thing that you've just based that upon. And you're like, what the fuck? Like, and then you complain about that and people say, you've no right to complain. I understand what Dim's saying. I do. I just think that you just have to sort of remove yourself a little bit and go, it's a company. They're going to do what they're going to do. I think there's a few people that have like led this example for me lately in the community who have just gone, and yourself, you've done this yourself, Dim, is just go, okay, well, I'm going to have my hobby my way, and that's how it's going to work for me. And I think a lot more people need to sort of take that idea on board themselves and actually go, okay, what is the hobby to me and how can I make it what I want it to be and not try and enforce what I think it should be on everybody else.
You know what? I get Dim's frustration in one way though, that he, but almost like an analogy, like he was talking about the hobby and there are people try and convince him that, oh, look at the, you know, it's not so. I feel that sometimes, and I feel that sometimes, so taking that, what he's talking about hobby, I kind of had that same situation, but with other things. You know, I'm feeling down at the moment. I'm trying to homeschool the children. I'm stay-at-home dad now because of the situation that I'm in, and I wasn't built for it. This homeschooling, man, it's tough, and it's then when you're venting to someone, be it a friend or a loved one or whoever, you're venting to someone, and their response to you speaking is to try and fix you or try and fix your problems. That can be very frustrating because a lot of the time they're telling you things that, yeah, you don't think I've already tried that. Sometimes what they're telling you is right, but you're not really looking for someone necessarily to fix your problems or fix it for you. You're just looking for someone who gets it. And, you know, sometimes that's all you need, actually. And I think a lot of people, they mean well. And I've had it happen to me, and it is frustrating, and it immediately closes you up. Someone's like, well, look at this, you know, you've got all this, or, you know, this is good. You've got nothing to feel bad about, you know, and it's like, in a way, it makes you feel worse because now you feel guilty for feeling bad. Because it's like the whole, oh, there's people far worse off. It's all in perspective, you know.
Empathy.
And it sometimes you just want someone to sort of go, yeah, that must be horrible, you know. I get how you're feeling. That, yeah, you know.
Exactly.
Sometimes just that.
Genuine empathy comes from actually just caring about someone else's situation and not trying to enforce your own experience on it. Because, like, for example, yourself, you're in a situation with the kids and the family where it's totally upside down, totally different experience. Whereas someone in my situation,
I'm a terrible choice for a teacher.
I don't have kids. I don't have a family, and I desperately want that. So, like, I could turn around and be like, I don't know what he's complaining about. At least he's got this and he's got that. I ain't got that. I really want that. But no, it's a totally different strain, and I totally understand that.
I've got a lot to be grateful for.
My own bias to it. I'm just like, that is for you a real thing because your world is totally upside down and it's totally stressful. And I totally understand it, and I can understand other people, other single people out there that are in a similar situation at the moment where they're completely cut off on their own. And
imagine if I was completely on my own now. I would be just, I miss being with people. I miss the noise in the house. I miss, like you would. It's that balance, isn't it? It's because there's too much of it now, and the kids bring me a lot of joy. And I love them to bits. They drive me mad because it's 7 days a week, and I wasn't trained for this. I wasn't prepared for this. This is not what happens.
Yeah.
I'm not equipped to know how to deal with it, I suppose, is how I'm feeling, because it's always been the way. The kids go to school, the parents go to work, and that's how you grew up, and that's how up until recently they've been growing up, and then suddenly you're thrown into this whole new mix, and it's a lack of control as well, man, this lockdown, because we've got no control over it.
Yeah,
our lives are restricted and dictated to us, and
and so it's got a lot
all for the right reasons. I can't even be annoyed about it because it shouldn't be happening. Because when I was chatting to someone, because I've been going through my own health stuff, and I said, my procedure's been put back because of COVID. The hospital, all the staff are put on COVID, and I was chatting to a friend about it on the phone. He's very much like, it's stupid, isn't it? What they're playing at in the hospital. And I'm like, well, no, I'm not telling you this because I want to rant about the failings of the NHS, because that's not what I want to do. I'm ranting about it because but at the same time, I totally get it, that it's the right thing to do. But it doesn't stop it being any less shit.
I think this
doesn't stop it feeling crap and hating every second of it, and wanting to get back to normal life and wanting the kids to be able to see their friends. They're missing out on so much, and I've seen it affecting them as well. Exactly. And it breaks my heart to see that they're missing out on so much right now. And it's getting a bit worrying now, and that all plays onto your guilt as a parent and stuff as well, that they're just not experiencing what they should be experiencing now.
If you think about it, this lockdown has got a lot of the same enforced symptoms as clinical depression does, because it actually is forcing isolation. It's causing people's routine and order to be upside down. It's also making you feel vulnerable and out of control. You are helpless. You feel tiny. Those are a lot of the same symptoms that come with depression. Is that feeling of helplessness and numbness,
no light at the end of the tunnel.
Vulnerability. Yeah. So it's actually the condition that is being enforced upon people is very similar to the feelings associated with depression anyway. So it's no wonder that people fall into it, because those conditions are being enforced upon you that are the part of, at least, a lot of what makes up depression.
Well, it was you that said, Dred, when we were talking about, we wanted to make this video and cover this topic, because it's an important topic, and we sort of playing around with the idea of, should we tie it in with Mental Health Week, whenever that falls. We couldn't remember when that fell, but Dred made the good point, is in like, don't worry about it.
Relevant now.
At the moment, right now, our country's in it's like another lockdown, going through some serious shit. This is the time where, if any time a video like this is needed,
it mightn't be a fun
now.
episode, but we just had a fun episode, and we can't.
Debatable.
You can't ignore. You can't ignore
Viewers
real.
might disagree. I haven't checked the
ignore
analytics yet.
But that is part of it being a double-edged sword with the hobby, though. There are positive aspects of it, even if the game is going to shit. Because I talked about like walking away from the hobby, and what it would mean is there's relationships that I've developed, friendships that I've developed that I normally wouldn't have. You know what I mean? But it's true though, because like even some of my friends I met in London, I've literally met them because of the hobby. All of you lads, our point of commonality is orcs from 40k and that hobby. We wouldn't know each other if it wasn't for this hobby. None of us would. You know what I mean? It's so there is positive
Makes
aspects
it very
of it.
hard to leave behind. That's
Yeah.
I thought it was going to seal the deal for you, Dim.
That's
some fucking
You
days.
get rid of everybody at the same time.
No, that is one of the things that will probably, I think, I'll always be into 40k in some way. I'll be invested in it because of the friendships that have been built out of it. And like Dim, I've had negative friendships. People have had to cut out of my life that have come from the hobby as well. But 99% of it has been positive.
Mm-hmm.
It really has.
It only takes one narcissist.
Yeah. Well,
It's the problem.
But it's interesting. That's part of growing up as well. I found like getting older and being with the hobby for so long, my relationship with it has changed, and how I'll deal with it and how I deal with the people. Like I don't think I was able to get to the point where I'd be able to cut somebody out of my life until I was in my late 20s. Where you become sort of more sure of yourself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So even if you're younger,
you get less tolerant of bullshit as you get older.
Yes.
You get a lot less tolerant of bullshit, and people I would have put up with and had in my life, like you say, years ago. You just like, I don't care. You reach a point where I just don't care. It's just whatever. You know, when I was younger, I used to want to get even. I used to want to get revenge. I used to want to fight the injustice. You know, if I'd been wronged, I had to get them back in some way. And I was always fighting the good fight, or thought I was. I was young and dumb. And it caused more trouble than it solved. And since I took that, like you say, that respect of like, do you know what? Fine, whatever. Yeah. Crack on. Just I won't be there. Fine. And it works. It works, you know. Yeah, and
where to invest yourself, your energy. I think that's what it is. It's who to invest your energy and where to invest your energy. And that's probably part of, you know, why I backed away a bit from the hobby, and why Dim, you know what I mean? That realization as well of where to invest your energy and your happiness. Is it, you know, reciprocal? You know, being friendships or the hobby itself, is it reciprocal? Are you getting back out of it what you're investing into it? And then that's going to be different for all of us.
I would say they're definitely the right place to be investing your time and energy. It's a 40k orc community on Facebook and Discord.
It's usually me that does the plugs.
If you ever had any doubt that our principal propaganda master is Greg, right? You just got a masterclass course in the fact that it is. We are rumbling.
I've studied marketing. I'm just Cockney.
He's always selling some old shit.
Or just talking it in general. But, you know.
Yeah.
I found the arrows for me.
But we are getting close to the. I like bringing this quote up every now and then. The Americans are probably going to know it better than everybody else. But there's a writer an academic principally who I quite like, who's a guy called Joseph Campbell. Who, if you look into deep Star Wars stuff, he's clanking around in the background because his book, The Hero with a Thousand Faces, basically inspired Star Wars to a very,
Yeah.
very large degree, and in doing so, vindicated his theories. And he had a little catchphrase which he did. I think it was just in the CBS series where was it Bill Moyers or something? I think he was called or something. But some American journalist interviewed him over 6 recordings, and the one that sort of jumped out was "Folly or Bliss," right? And it's a very, very useful bit of advice, right? Find what you love and pursue it. It's the simplest bit of advice that you can get. And I mean, sometimes it's useless because, I mean, when you're feeling down in the dumps, it does not help. But when you get to the point, when you get yourself to the point of where you can look at your life and go, right, what do I want to change? How do I want to stop dealing with people? Do I want to continue to deal with people? Do I want to change groups? Do I want to move away from this hobby and move to that one? Stuff like that. When you get to making those decisions, then you can easily decide, right, this is the things that I love. I'm going to put more of my investment into that and not care about any of the rest of it, which is more or less the decision that I did. I decided the hobby was ultimately the thing that I loved, so I do more of that. I buy things just to build. I just actually today got some stuff from a company called Maces. And I just bought a bunch of monsters, and some of it's usable in AOS for my Corn Army on the 4 or 5 times like a year when gaming's possible that I play. But I quite like building Corn stuff and a few other bits for other projects. But I just built them because I liked them and because there was a nice offer. But both of those two things aligned. I buy models for the sake of it and I just build them.
I think you touched on another point as well. Another thing that a lot of people suffer from and do is the what do they call it? My brain's gone bloody dead.
Talk around it.
No. Retail therapy. Retail therapy.
God.
I think a lot of people in all kinds of things, spend money to make themselves feel better and stuff, don't they? It's that quick fix of shopping. And
it's a trap. Don't do it.
Yeah. And I think the hobby has a lot to answer for on that, doesn't it? I mean, everyone watching this now, turn around and look at your grey pile of shame. To show yourself that,
mine is house shit.
All of that, or
Of a shed of shame.
Will make
Mine looks a lot like a house.
And it is a little bit of a short-term little, boost, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Because the postman becomes Father Christmas all of a sudden.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it always brightens up your day when the little, parcel arrives and stuff, But
that's what I do every time. It's like, Amazon. I wonder who it is. How did they know I liked that?
The expectation and knock on the door. Is that mine? Is that me person? Is it come here?
The trick is just to do all your buying when you're really out your head late at night. Don't actually do this. But then when the stuff arrives in the morning, a couple of days later, you're like, oh yeah, oh wow, cool, and you get all that excitement all over again.
This is why Amazon was a bad idea. Because you can buy shit that you don't need when you
eBay's my
digital money is a bad idea.
I spend a lot of money on eBay.
I have to avoid.
In my day, we used to go down the shop with money in our hand. Real money.
I used to roam eBay for first edition Necromunda models and Rackham Confrontation models. And you can throw money at that shit very easily.
Yeah. But once you're invested in that bidding war.
Often I'll look for buy it now bargains.
Yeah, same.
Time to time,
I found
put in a cheeky offer.
My spending on the hobby has slackened quite a lot. Now that I'm not as involved in 40k, like I'm not going onto the store page all the time. I'm not going onto the community tab as much all of the time, so I'm not as in the loop. Whereas I found that when you're in the loop and you're like going into the game and so, this is the new thing, and there's always something new, man. It's like that by design, obviously.
Yeah. You get pulled into it, and you want to buy it.
It's like that by design. But I found that I actually spend I've been spending less on the hobby. But I also know, like, you know, we're lucky in that regard, in that the orcs don't get a lot of releases.
Yeah,
So
that has
it's-
helped. That's what I mean. I'm not the same as you. I haven't spent a huge amount on it lately because I'm like, I don't need to. I've got
Yeah.
plenty to be getting on with. You
2020,
know?
I barely spent a penny in this hobby. I literally, the only thing I bought is the 3D printer. I haven't bought any miniatures in 2020. I bought a 3D printer. That is about it. I don't.
Oh, my sweet summer child.
I hope GW aren't watching this because they're like, we got to get out like a limited edition Orc miniature quick to make these fuckers spend some money.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Too late.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're gonna get your Easter Bunny wish, mate. It just won't be a bad one.
I mean, that's probably what the other teased orc stuff is just more limited edition one-off models that don't.
I
really
knew it
have
was a
much to
risk. I
range.
knew it was a risk leading him down this path, but I
I
couldn't
saw
not
an
do
opening and I had to take it. Behold my tinfoil hat. Now, I thought we could probably. I mean, I don't know whether or not anybody had anything more to say, but I thought we could amble this towards a conclusion by going right. So we've talked about being down in the dumps. We've talked about being down the dumps in the hobby. So how do we deal with it? I'm going to do a preamble first.
Fucking good question.
There's kind of a point I want to mention, but like, obviously, to start with, we are not therapists, right? We're not going to help you deal with your depression. We're just going to try and help you be a little bit more productive. You can see
we are doctors, all right? You know,
like we basically,
You'll see.
like, we are like, we can show you or tell you, mostly tell you, what, how we maintain some level of productivity. Because ultimately, one of the things we haven't talked about much is that obviously the hobby is very emotive. It's an emotional thing. Like it's that thing that lets you indulge your passions. It's a thing of passion. And when you are depressed, that's the opposite of passion. That's, you know, like it's
passion killer.
It's a passion killer, yeah. Calcasse. And like you want to, you know, you like when I my productivity is directly tied to my mood. So if I'm in a low mood, like I can't do hobby. So for a very, very long time, basically, I could go to a GW, and while I was in the GW, there'd be a lot of people around me. And if I'm in a large group of people, I tend to be, I find a way to be funny. I don't know how I do it, because when I'm one-to-one, I'm not funny at all. But I find a way to be funny, and I get on with almost anyone. So it, generally speaking, it picks my mood up, and I do some converting and stuff. And then that would be my productivity. But I generally found that, like, I would sometimes be involved with people who would sort of nag me and shame me because I wasn't doing enough. The person I mentioned who I kicked out of, you know, don't bother with anymore. Because one of the things that I think we might do a whole episode on sometime is, I think it's really shitty that people get shamed for not having painted armies.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of crap.
Yeah.
Because especially right now, a lot of people are dealing with shit. And what's more important, painting minis or like sorting your own life out? And if anybody says painting minis, they need punching in the face, right? It's not a priority.
Comment section,
it never should be a priority. No company should have a game where you get points for having that over someone else. It's a dick move, right? So that doesn't help productivity either. So what methods do we all have for being more productive?
Well, just before I answer you, I'll just very eloquently put, as always, mate. You covered a lot of good ground there, and you got me thinking on several fronts. I'm completely the same as you. When I'm deep in the depths of depression, it kills my love of life and everything within life, and I can't focus on anything. You know, my usual coping mechanisms work when I'm just sounds really bad, but like every day depressed. Like it's always there. I'm always dealing with mental health issues. Every minute of every single day is always there. But on the usual sort of thing of where I've managed to find coping mechanisms, and but when you take a real dip, when you crash, kills it dead. I couldn't give a flying fuck about painting an orc or building an orc or playing a game or watching a movie or listening to music. I love music, but when I'm really bad, I do not want to hear any music. I want to be as far away from everything as possible. So I totally get that. And that does happen to me. And the painted army thing, I've felt that shame. I've felt that from other people within the hobby who have possibly, a lot of time through jest and stuff and jokes, or sometimes barbed jokes, to sort of, I've in the early days, within the first year of being on YouTube, I had that kind of intruder syndrome. Who the fuck am I? I haven't even got a painted army, and I'm on camera in front of people, and like now people are starting to pick me up on it and make comments about it, and it made me feel shit, and it made me question, why should I be on YouTube covering this stuff? Who am I to say anything about it when I haven't even painted my stuff? And so I get that. And sometimes, when my knowledge is on certain aspects of the hobby isn't as high as other people's sometimes. How I got around that was remembering that who gives a fuck? I'm not an authority.
Devo, that's who I am.
Yeah, I'm not an authority on this. I'm just a fan. I'm just a fan with a camera making videos about it. And they seem to be doing all right. So I must be doing something right and carry on. And and just become the big deal I was born to be. But so I do that. But yeah, coping mechanisms. Generally, the hobby is in itself a coping mechanism for me. It's an escape from the mundaneness of everyday life, the monotony of everyday life, and the pressures and the stresses. And it's an escape from all that. So like yourself, when it comes to pressure on things, that brings with it a level of anxiety for me that turns me off and pushes me away from the hobby. We've got a competition coming up soon, another monthly competition, and I'm entering this one voluntarily and looking forward to it. But I won't lie, I've got that same kind of like, oh God, I've got to make sure I get that done already. It's only just started the month and I only just started work on it. But I'm like, I've got to get this built and painted. I've got to have it done. And if you don't,
doesn't like pressure. Doesn't like pressure at all.
It's not good. But
I'm doing the same thing. I'm entering too. I don't feel any pressure whatsoever to get the model.
It's self-imposed pressure
at all. I really don't. I get a lot of pressure from feeling like I owe people videos though. Like I feel like, I need to do this video, I need to do that video. I really should do a video about this. I really should do. It's about time someone's asked.
You're in the same boat as me, aren't you? Where you got to a point where you're monetized and you got a Patreon and you buy me a coffee and whatever. So people are contributing. And I don't know about you, but for me, that added a whole another level of. If I wasn't making a video, it wasn't a big deal. Whereas now, like.
You're responsible in a way.
People have kind of paid for content.
And if you're away, you've got to explain where you've been.
Yeah,
you feel responsible.
100%.
Yeah, and it's lovely to have the support of people, but it's also.
Well, yeah, don't stop putting in the Patreon, people.
Give me all your teeth. But
Papa needs some new freaking, new shooter.
There is a pressure attached, and you've just got to. I think as a YouTuber. And for other YouTubers out there, I think it's very important to discover your own limitations and boundaries and what you are and aren't comfortable with doing. Do that, and then let yourself be happy with being rewarded for that thing, rather than setting yourself some bar or trying to match other people's expectations of what you should be in order to be worthy of their reward. You're better to focus on what you like at the core of it and what your thing is. And then if people want to reward you for that, they will. You've
triggered a brain fart in me there, mate.
I wonder.
I don't feel that I'm achieving much at the moment outside of the hobby. I feel as a parent, I'm failing at homeschooling. that's getting me down big time. I'm failing at the homeschooling. I'm failing at just achieving much. I'm no longer working, and I'm at home and I'm cleaning and I'm, you know, cooking the dinners and making sure the kids aren't tearing lumps off each other and whatnot. And with the channel has taken a hit during this time where I'm not working, so I should have more time than ever, but I feel like I've got less time than ever. And the channels, there's been less content recently than I would have liked there to have been. And I think that's probably the number one thing for me that's really got me down through this lockdown, is just not achieving anything. I don't feel that sense of achievement. And I've been getting that lately from playing. I recently purchased XCOM on my Nintendo Switch. I've had it for ages, but I wanted it on my Switch because I never get to play on the telly. So I get to play on my Switch. So I've been getting that sense of achievement from that. And the missus got me Animal Crossing on it as well, and I'm fucking addicted. And I've been getting sense of achievement from that. And I've been getting a bit of paint on stuff. That's a sense of achievement. So it is, these distractions and stuff do help me on that side.
Yeah, but you do you, Steve. You don't ever let other people, like, don't ever let the belief that other people expect this because I've got this time. Like, they don't know your personal situation. They know a fraction of it. The YouTubing is just a window into one aspect of your life. You might
100%.
We might share
Other
a little bit
people's
of our personal lives
expectations
too,
is a
but
terrible trap,
you can't expect to take on people's expectations based upon a small window into your life.
The truth is, amongst any of us, we barely know anyone really doing like what to social media and stuff. There's a lot more people on social media than there is who do YouTube videos, but it's the same kind of thing. This is a form of social media, isn't it? Really, and like you can look at anyone on Facebook and it's, God, they seem like they've got it so together. You know, the happy family
like
pictures.
I say, it's a window into their life. It's a window that they've allowed.
Yeah.
You ever walk past a window in the street where they've got a lovely array of flowers and a couple of like nice ornaments or whatever?
Yeah.
That's all that is. You know, that's their Facebook page.
Yeah, like you say, it's just a tiny little window into someone's life, and it gives, you know, what is a quote that Doctor Who once said: "A footprint doesn't look like a boot." I just wanted to get a Doctor Who reference in.
Nice one.
But it's you know. I don't even know if that analogy really works. But yeah, it's just so you're not getting the full picture and you're not understanding, you know. But yeah, so
to use another quote from another sci-fi series, stay on target.
Stay on target.
Scar, what have you got? Any tips for staying focused and being productive?
I don't. I can't. I really do suffer badly from it. Like I'm not competitive. I actually have sort of figured out that I have self-destructive habits in that regard. I learned from a really bad habit from a young age of not trying. The pressure of having a limit put on me. I got into the habit of, if I don't try, then I can't fail, which is wrong, because by not trying, you are guaranteeing to fail.
Yeah.
But that's what happens with me when I start to get like that. Like, we're doing our challenge
Sounds like
thing.
my school reports.
Yeah, but when we're doing our challenge thing and we're all competing against each other, like Dredd, I've noticed with Dredd, he revels in that competitiveness. Like, and it brings out the best in them. But that's just part of your personality. My personality doesn't do that. I sort of collapse in on myself with that type of stuff. That, you know what I mean?
What's the best thing for us to do to encourage you in that situation then? You know,
I don't know. I'm still trying to discover that. I'm trying to discover how to motivate myself in that regard. You know, and it's nothing against anyone else. This is just some it's a defensive mechanism against something or a habit that I've developed over the years, but it's something I've realized in and of myself. So I don't know. It sounds weird, but I don't know how to motivate myself in that regard.
When you figure it out, let your mates know.
Oh, don't worry.
I've got a couple of tips. So, the main one I want to say, and this is the one bit of advice that I will give universally, because I wasn't given it by a therapist. I was given it by a friend. So it's a tip that I can give. And I think it's probably the best tip and probably the best advice I've ever had about anything to do with depression or dealing with low mood and anything like that, wanting to be more productive. Because that's part of the trap of being depressed. Because you're depressed, you can't be bothered to do anything. Because you don't do anything, you don't succeed at anything, you don't do stuff, you feel guilty about it, and you
It's
just
a negative loop.
you keep yourself down there. It's a negative, it's a negative feedback loop. The way to break out of it is to not try everything overnight. Probably the best way to start. It might not work for everyone. Some of you may need to go full on if that's what you feel you need. It's not universal advice, but I think this would work for almost anyone, regardless. Little victories. Start with little things.
That's what I've had to do with my smoking.
Yeah.
I've had to do that.
Like how I've just got to the stage that I'm at where I actually feel like for the first time in, I would say, at least 30 years, that I felt like a functional human being, is through little victories like that. And I started incredibly unambitiously. I used to sit in front of my laptop or my computer or the TV, and I would just play computer games. Because computer games give you a success, but they're a completely passive success. You don't have to really bother to do anything other than play games. But like, you kind of need to do more than that, really. I mean, games are great, but like, you know, they're better in moderation, like everything else. And
if only you could print off a certificate after completing them, you know.
Yeah, I know. And like, I mean, like I got tied for a while. I got very addicted to getting gamer score on my 360, but I can't even get into my old account anymore. So I can't even revel over my old gamer score. I can't do it. It's a very temporary thing. Technology doesn't last forever.
No.
And neither do you. But hey, like the images that you have up here, you know, they're permanent. But there's a lot of other stimuli, and I can't really remember any computer gaming I did, but I can remember a few sunsets that were particularly nice. You know what I'm saying? Like, try and find things that are more meaningful. The way that you get to there is by building up with small things. And the three things I did, right? And this is mundane as fuck, but it works, right? Make your bed every morning. Just do it. It doesn't have to be well. Just have a go at making it, and as soon as you get up. And the reason I say that is, there you go. If you do nothing else all day of note, you've achieved something immediately. So the rest of the day is not wasted. You did a thing.
Yeah.
You know, and that helps, because then you're right, okay, I've done something. I'll do something else. And you build it up that way.
Yeah. I do that. I sometimes write myself lists, just of little things I want to achieve through the day. Like, it's simple as things, as in like, get dinner sorted, get all them clothes washed and dried and put away, and get, you know, and just silly little things. But then, because sometimes when, like, say when you feel down, you sit around doing fuck all, just feeling sorry for yourself or escaping into something, and then you're like, I haven't, and you just feel shit about it, and it makes you feel worse. And some of those things are a grind and not fun things to do, but you still get that little senses of achievement each way that just makes you feel better about yourself. And it's very good advice.
It's got
The other two I did was I did there's a YouTube show. I don't mind saying which one it was. It's Gymquisition. There's a Gymquisition every Monday, right? On Monday, I watch it. Like, even now, like, it doesn't have to be as soon as it goes up. At some point on the Monday, and sometimes on the Tuesday, no big pressure, I'll watch it, like, every time. And it was something to look forward to. And I just picked something to look forward to, and I just picked that because I quite like Jim's style and abrasiveness and comedy, and the fact that he puts in 90s references all the time and stuff like that. And I like that.
There's certain YouTube videos and channels when a new video there's coming out, you're like, oh, excellent, this is going to be my little proper, like, you know.
And I went out once a day. I went out once, not once a day, once a week. I would go out once a week for not work. It didn't have to be anything. I just went out. Even if I just went to a fucking park, just like, or I went and I got takeaway, or went
That's
and
what
got
I used
just
to do as
got a
well.
drive through, you know, whatever.
I'm always writing little notes on these little paper cards, right? And I quite often I know that, like, particularly in this lockdown, I'm like, I want to do some painting, you know, but then I don't want to come down from bed, get up, have breakfast or coffee or whatever, and just paint all day. So I do, like you say, Steve, I write myself a list of really simple things, just like, you know, clean the ashes out the fire, get some new turf and firewood in, and, you know, do the dishes, hoover the floor, blah, blah, blah. Just a few things like that. So at least, you know, you can get that stuff sort of done, plow it through it in a couple of hours. And then you can feel like when you sit down to paint, it's like, okay, I've earned this now. You know, it's okay for me to do this now because I haven't neglected other things in life in order to just be doing this, you know. So
This week, I have mostly been writing lists.
That's my life, mate.
I wrote lists listlessly.
Yeah, the problem I have is I have bursts of energy, so it comes and goes. Some days I quite literally do fuck all, like literally nothing. Other days I'm, you know, this needs to be fixed, that needs to be repainted, that needs to be sorted, and I'll be like, and that'll be a great day, and I'll get shit done. Like, but it's not regulated. It's very fleeting with me at the moment as well.
Do you punish yourself when you have those days where you don't do anything? Do you?
Yeah, inside, internally, yeah.
I
Big
do that.
time.
I sort of, I don't know. It's like you tick over in neutral. You know what I mean? I just tick over in neutral, and then sometimes like my mood when it regulates, it dips down, like what Steve was saying, and then it's like I don't want to be doing anything at all, like. And then,
but then the next day, were you?
And then I'm like, woo, you know.
The next day after that, are you beating yourself up for the way that you was the previous day, though? Are you sort of like giving yourself hassle in your own mental space, you know? Because I do that a lot to myself, and I've been told by friends around me, Dread, like, Artie, you know, why are you always attacking yourself? Like, why do you keep calling yourself names and keep moaning about yourself? You know, like, and you have to have sometimes people point out to you that you are actually a bit hard on yourself.
Harsh on yourself.
Yeah.
I saved that up for a very long time. It could be weeks and months, and then I do that sort of thing. But
when someone is disappointed in you, or says you're crap, or says you're worthless, that hurts. You know, if you care about the person, you care about what they think, it hurts. It really hurts.
I never meant it, mate.
When you do that to yourself, it's crippling, and that is the person that we all most care about, our opinion of ourselves. Because if you do whatever, you put yourself out to do whatever, if you feel ashamed of yourself, if you don't feel that you did it, no matter what anyone else says, you're constantly going to put yourself down. And I think all of us, probably to a greater lesser extent, in terms of our hobby, when you make something, you're going to be the most critical person of it. When you do a video, you know, I put videos out, and I was like, oh, just not happy with it. You know, sometimes to the point where it's really bugged me, and I've just gone ahead and deleted it or redone it or whatever. And you know, people say, "Oh, I was enjoying it. It's fine." I was like, "No, it couldn't stay. I just was not happy with it. I know I can do better. It's not good enough." And I've beaten myself up. I've beaten myself up for getting like rules wrong and shit, and doing like a tattoo video, and I've mispronounced something, or I haven't said something right, or I've said something that I'm like, someone's pointed out. I'm like,
oh yeah, that's one level of it.
When myself
like,
over that
calling
shit.
yourself for something out loud, you're like, oh, you silly git, or whatever, blah, blah, blah. That's one thing that people will notice and pull you up on, but that's the less hurtful self-destruction. The more hurtful,
more of it's internal, isn't it?
Yeah, the more hurtful one is internal, where you go, you're useless. You didn't do anything that day. You wasted your time. What kind of person wastes a day? You know, some people don't have a day left. You know, like you can lay the guilt on yourself for being a complete waste of a day. Instead of allowing yourself that time, and instead of saying, do you know what? You do what you want to do, and you enjoy that space and do that time how you want to do it. That's what you have to do. You have to sort of like stop being you for a second. Pull the brakes on and go, hang on, who are you talking to, mister? To yourself, you know, like, I'll do what I bloody well like. Thank you very much. You know, you have to sort of have.
This
that
is what
argument
Dredd
with
does
yourself.
outside the pubs
Well,
most of the
I
time.
do.
He's well known within his community, you know.
Yeah, people come out of the pub, they come around the alley and go, who's having a row? Who's having a fight? Oh, no, it's just Dredd having a word with himself.
Get him a sandwich, get him home.
I mean, this would be a Dredd video, but I
am I
think
going
it
to have
needs
an
some
hour or am I going to
puppets.
have a Guinness? Oh, I don't know. Hour Guinness. Oh, I don't know. Come around the corner. You having a fight? No, just deciding what drink I'm going to have next.
He's not in a pub. He's imagining it. Don't tell anyone.
He thinks Scar's the barman.
He's Irish. Sounds like a barman.
Back in the day.
Sounds like every barman I ever heard of.
Back in the day, memories. Yeah. Nothing better than being the only sober man in the room and serving people alcohol. It's like, this isn't irritating at all.
Oh, drunk people are the worst when you're sober, man. Fuck drunk people when you're sober. Fuck them hard.
Yeah.
Right, so I think. Yeah,
Oh, hang on. So,
this better be good.
I kind of regretting this immediately, but I was just thinking, right?
This is a shitty point.
In the spirit of realizing that you have to let things go and move on and change, right? I'm gonna stop bitching about Matt Ward.
No, fuck off. Fuck off. I've heard some bullshit on this show, man, but that takes the fucking biscuit.
It's not the response I was expecting. They're so supportive, aren't they? After we spent an entire episode being supportive, trying to be supportive to everyone else. It's just like, fuck off. You're not going to do that.
Look, I said at the beginning,
saying you
I'm
want
less
support
tolerant
with
of
her, is it
bullshit. That'll be a headline tomorrow, won't it?
But yeah, as we were saying through the episode, if what
Jim
we talked
Reaper,
about,
Matt Ward shill.
shut up,
At least he can go around his sister's.
Right, I'll shut up. I'll
shut
shut
up, the ladies.
You know what I mean?
Shut up. We're wrapping it up, right? It's been, you know, obviously we're taking the piss going through, but in all seriousness, if you can relate to this and, you know what I mean, like we said, going through it, you're going through stuff, we'll put links in the description. If you need to get help, go get professional help.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be afraid to ask. The sooner the better. In all seriousness, if you need help with your mental health, do it. Please, just go and do it.
The top tip on that as well is the sooner the better is vitally important, because obviously there are an awful lot of people that use mental health services for some freaking reason are always underfunded. Like you can get people like Andrew Solomon, who's constantly making the case that more money should be put into it, because like there's that statistic that 1 in 3 people are going to experience a serious mental health problem in their life. Crazy,
probably
scary
more right now, and more severe amongst those who already.
You're going to be on waiting
now.
lists. You're going to be on waiting lists. It's going to be a while before you probably get any major help. So the key important thing is get the ball rolling sooner rather than later, because it will be useful when it turns up. You might have to wait a while, so get it started now if you're going to.
And don't do what I have been guilty of doing a lot of the time. When that help does come round, and it comes at a time when I'm kind of feeling all right now, still do it.
Yeah,
because you're on a wave. You're riding the crest of that wave, and
nothing worse than complacency.
Yeah.
Particularly if you internalize, and if you internalize in a way of you don't even process it, so it just gets bunged away somewhere to be dealt with on a different day, and then you'll just have a particular point in your life where
most of your hobby
something will happen, and all of that shit that you were storing at the back of your head is just going to come rushing at you in one go, and you definitely don't want that.
And you want to be equipped mentally on how to deal with that.
Are there help avenues for people to contact or to actually speak to people during this lockdown, because obviously contact with people and actually going to appointments and meeting people is difficult. I've wondered about this myself. I wanted to go to see a counsellor or something, and I just thought, well, I'm just going to wait till lockdown's over, obviously.
Well, face to face will be difficult.
There probably are people that can do it over Zoom and whatnot.
I went and found someone who privately and I pay for it, and I do it over Skype meetings. So you can get services. There are
even before lockdown. I've had sessions before over the phone and things and done it, but it's a lot now.
Most of my therapy was on the phone.
A lot of
even before lockdown, I've started and it was all
services, more sort of online services, particularly at the moment with the lockdowns and whatnot.
Yeah,
it would probably be too much to link, because you think about it. Where are people from on the internet? Everywhere. The important thing, probably the things that you need to do most importantly, is visit your GP or equivalent, like your doctor. Well, at the moment you won't be visiting, but like
visit them virtually.
Get a phone call with your doctor. Tell them that you're feeling low and you're looking for some kind of help, some kind of counselling, and they will direct you to what they recommend. Now, you may be in a situation where you want to throw money at it privately. Obviously, in certain places that might be your only shot. Obviously, it's going to be money, but like, honestly, I can't put a price on feeling better. It's just...
It'd be better to spend your money on than a new box of orcs. And we do love a new box of orcs.
Well, you do want to get those boys before GW ruins them by making them monopause. Just
for fuck's sake. I wonder.
And on that bombshell,
we're doing a serious talk. I wonder if he'll get any GW bashes in. Sure, he didn't disappoint.
Sure. Getting some boys will always put a smile on your face, won't it? Eh?
Tim, you said something earlier in the video when you were talking about your story. You said something, you described yourself in a certain way, and you said, allowed me to function as a normal human being, or, as a functional human being. And that might sound, that's strong language, strong wordage, it's a strong statement, but it is so apt, because that is literally what mental health problems can do to you. They can literally stop you functioning like a normal human being. They can really be destructive to yourself, and it is serious. And sometimes now it's talked about so passé and openly by a lot of people that it can almost seem trivial and everyday, because so many people suffer from it, so people are open about it. You sometimes don't notice that sometimes someone's in it really deep, really hard, and really heavy, and it's dangerous points and worrying levels.
I think it's the stressful thing right now is worrying about all the people in your life and wondering what level they're at, because it's hard to know. I'm worried about a lot of people in my life, because I it's hard to keep up with everybody, and everybody's got a situation right now, so you're like worried about the one you miss. You know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. I think luckily though, as humans, we're far better at giving advice and helping and seeing the positives for other people than we are for doing it for ourselves. So helping other people is often easier than helping yourself.
Sometimes you know what you need, but you need someone else to tell you.
Yeah.
Although it's perplexing, because sometimes people tell you the obvious thing and they were right all along, but at the time you were really annoyed by it. It's not a straightforward thing. It's not a straightforward line. Just the best thing to do is you'll, in all likelihood, if you've got this problem, you'll reach a point where you realize that it's too much of a problem to not deal with. And the second you realize that it's a problem that you need to deal with, you have already started to succeed. Because the second you realize that you need to deal with it and that you need some help dealing with it, that is the most difficult decision you will have to make in the entire process. From that point onwards, it's downhill sailing, because you've dealt with the hard thing. You've realized the problem. The biggest problem you've ever had with depression is denying yourself the idea that it's a problem that can be solved, or it's a problem that can be managed, or that it's a problem at all.
And then
And
it's
if
a
you
problem
realize
not to be
those,
ashamed of.
yeah, and if you realize those and you realize there's nothing to be ashamed of and you can deal with it, then that's the victory. Once you've had that victory, more victories will come, because you've dealt with the hardest decision you'll ever have to make, because that's it. Having the courage to realize that you need to change it is the thing that you need to do. And once you do that, it's a lot easier. It's not going to be plain sailing. There's a lot of difficult problems and a lot of things that you'll have to take on board, but that's the crucial thing. When you realize it's a problem, you've made the biggest revelation of the entire process, because
I think the shame coming out of it's a really important thing. People like a lot of people in the media and celebrity things are usually very cynical of any celebrities trying to raise awareness of causes and things. Sometimes I think there's other agendas in it, but there are cases where I see in recent years people like Tyson Fury, anyone who knows anything about the boxing world, had very publicly said that he's gone through this depression and stuff. Big tough man, champion boxer. And it's always been a sort of a power thing. It's always been seen as weak within business, within sport, within armed forces, within anything like that, historically. But that's going away a lot more these days.
I think it can be seen to be weak as well mentally. Like if you're an intelligent person and you've already achieved a lot mentally, or you might have got amazing grades through university or something like that, to then accept, like for people to think less of you maybe, or for you to at least think that they might think less of you because you've now got a mental problem.
Yeah, let's say within the workforce, within the workplace, maybe you've got a job with a lot of responsibilities and you start showing signs to people that you're mentally, you're not coping to it, suffering that, you're going to worry that, they're going to start thinking I'm weak-minded. I ain't got the cojones to be able to take on this responsibility and do this, because I'm going to crumble under pressure. And so all those sort of things go through your head. So you don't want to let too many people know sometimes, depending on what you're into and life. But it's great to see people like that Tyson Fury coming out saying that, because that lets a whole different kind of people, people that were raised not to show emotion, people are raised not, trained at an early age, suck it up, don't let it out and stuff, and man up, toughen up, stop being such a little bitch, the sort of things that would be said to us, and and so it can be hard, and so it's so important. I think people like that coming out and saying that and being brave enough to say that does a lot for other people, seeing that going, well, fucking hell, he's like champion of the world boxing, like he's if he can come out and admit it, and he's achieved so much.
I watched Matthew McConaughey actually recently being interviewed by Jordan Peterson, I think it was, and he was talking about his own sort of experiences with mental health and the industry, Hollywood, and blah blah. And like, we often forget how lonely it can be once you become famous, because like he was explaining how as soon as he became famous, his mum really wanted to know him, and like Eminem sort of syndrome, it's that whole sort of all of a sudden no one wanted to know you, now all of a sudden everyone wants to know you, but no one, you can't tell who's genuine. So that in itself must be its own really extreme form of loneliness.
I get it all the time now, mate. Ever since I became a big deal, it's just so many.
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
people, just like
you've got all of us tickling your crown jewels.
Can't figure out who's genuine.
Is it genuine, or do they really fancy me?
Well, yeah, it's a good thing you have us to keep you down to earth, huh?
Yeah, certainly you cunt.
Oh, there you go. Demonetised. Dunk. All this way without a swear word. There you go.
That can't be true.
We did. We actually did. We went all that way. I was monitoring it. I was like, I haven't sworn, and no one else has. We're doing really well.
Fuck, shit, bollocks.
Oh, fuck it. We've done it now, haven't we?
Let's double down on it.
All right, go on.
I already did.
I think Scar was attempting to bring it to a close about 30 minutes ago.
Drop like let's wrap it up hint about 30 minutes ago, which has kept that ball rolling. But
let's remember the guy who said stay on target blew up, right? It's like,
what, Nick's dead?
Stay on target.
When did that happen? Big fucking fan of his.
I mean, he'll come back.
Yay! Hey, reanimation protocols, baby. Go on, Scar. Go
And there's me.
on.
Like we said,
You're too sharp now. Let the man speak.
like we said, you know, through the course of this episode, if you need help, go seek it. Go find a professional help, and take the first step, the hardest step. We hope, you know, this has helped in some way. It was a very important subject for all of us because we can all relate to it, as I'm sure the majority of you can at the moment as well too. So we just, you know, we felt it was the right time to talk about this type of thing. So
Next time we'll be jollier.
yes, we'll try to be jollier. But it's, you know, it was something important in all seriousness. It's something that, you know, we felt needed to be talked about, and especially at this moment in time. So yeah, so
And it hasn't been a complete dumpster fire, so I think we've done all
No, it's gotten there. So it's goodbye from Scare, and don't forget to drill your barrels.
Enough said from Dread.
Learn from my mistakes.
Oh, motherfucker. I thought he's waiting. He's got something special lined up. So we're waiting for me to get in, and
Yeah.
It's me signing out. There you go. Yes, I will concede. Right, I will concede that sometimes, yes, I am a little bit late, but as stated earlier, I keep you updated. I give notice, you know, and you know, but at least I turn up, motherfucker.
Yeah, I always turn up. What are you on about? I've never not turned up. Oh, there was one time you guys.
Oh yeah, there was one time.
Arranged back without even letting me know about it. Yeah, I didn't know about that though, did I? So I can't be blamed for not turning up. Saying I wasn't even informed about.
It was your fault you weren't informed. So
Oh, look
the
at
blame
me,
still
I've got
comes
an
to you.
Ender Pro 3.
Look at that.
I'm
He's
getting
gonna be
my.
He's gonna be
getting
hey
my
lads,
arse-
do you mind if I just keep a camera on that for the whole time?
I'm getting my mile set up tonight.
There,
with,
Dread. You're
Garrick.
on the right for me. You're happy now.
For you.
Is baby happy now?
For you, I am. But it's not going to make any.
Got it. Oh, why did we do it this place? Was it so it matched the thumbnails?
So you put me-
It's because Dread wants to be.
Oh, no, it doesn't
looking
match the
into
thumbnails, does
conversation
it?
rather than out of the conversation. That's why he wants to flip around.
Yeah.
Because I'm on the thumbnails. I'm on the bottom left, and I.
So Tindin, you have put me underneath Scar where you used to, yeah?
Yeah, where I used to be. Yeah.
All right. Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Me and you are opposite ends of the colour wheel, Dread.
I can.
I mean,
my-
it works because I look into the right and Dread's looking into the left, so it works.
Dread's looking into space.
It was Jesus Christ.
No, I'm going to get powdered in the fight. Don't worry, it'll be fine.
Scar,
Given out already,
we've
you
said,
might
listen, no one really cares. But if you really do care, then go for it. And if Pale doesn't mind doing it, and Ant doesn't mind changing the thing, then go for it.
Fucking awkward cunt. I did nothing.
Look, if it puts a smile on his little face, it's worth it, isn't it? Eh? It's worth it.
Fucking telling you, just let him get away with too much.
Well, we didn't have
around,
we didn't have the iron fist of Scar here because he was late.
I care about production quality.
You mean I'm late?
The iron fist is keeping it. Actually, no, you're right. Actually,
you said 8:30. It's 8:20 now, all right?
well, I said 8 to 8:30. But listen, the only reason I'm giving you a hard time is
What
because that
time's it now?
motherfucker was giving me a hard time.
We ain't having no talk of no fisting this time around. All right?
I'll get my fucking nipples out. I will. I won't. Nobody needs to see
That
that.
went mad in the comments last time. It was fun. Oh, your background looks savage, man.
It was bummer I couldn't.
Apart from all the crap.
Apart from the camp bed for the homeless guy. And
Apart from the cushions, but the wall looks wicked. I like that. I've only been thinking today when I've been looking at some stats and stuff about depression and stuff like that, and oh man, I just started thinking to myself, we are so fortunate.
1 in 3.
That we have got each other, and like it's a really special thing. And I was really starting to feel like really all soppy and mushy today about.
you
the
coming
group.
on to me?
No, but I was just thinking, geez, we have got something really good, haven't we? Like, we're really fortunate. A lot of people don't have this, and that's why I think this episode is kind of important to sort of say to people in the group, look, you know, like, there's a lot of good that can come out of just, you know, chatting with your mates in this group, you know? If you're feeling a bit down.
Oh, Dread. Oh, you set me off, you fucker. You set me off.
Are you crying?
No,
Do I have to-
just the two of us. We can make it if we try. Just the two of us. Dread and I.
Did everybody do the reading?
What reading? It's about reading.
What do you think this is? A bloody book club? You're in the wrong Zoom meeting, Dim.
I thought you literally meant there was some fucking panel notes.
Book club's on Wednesday, Dim.
No, this is a prop. This is a prop because
Okay.
gonna get a cheap gag out of it. My
Just did.
responsibility.
You got a bonus one free.
Well, my
courtesy of what?
responsibility as a complete and utter bastard is to be the person who injects some humor into this shit because it's going to be needed.
When are you going to start doing that then?
He's been hold. He's been fucking playing us, isn't he? Hustling us.
Posting them up in the Battletech Facebook group and people are asking for the files. So I might
Yeah, you should definitely do a little video on it.
This
Doing
one
my-
failed, and I just turned it into a fucking room. I just told them.
That's the best thing about ruins, isn't it? You can.
And include that. Include
It
that. in a
looks
little
good,
video,
mate. It
talk
looks
about
good, especially
that,
when it's all painted up and it looks all burnt out and stuff. It's going to look banging.
and put,
I really
put the,
want an Ender 3 Pro like, but they are
You have a recipe to do a
pricey.
You actually, there's probably I'm seeing them.
Oh, no, I want a bigger one.
It's
I've
actually
got-
making me want to play it a little bit.
I've got a fuck ton of big terrain pieces that I cannot possibly print on the Mars. So I'm going to need something else at some point. Fuck knows what it's going to be.
I want to do some terrain as well.
And I don't want to bring out something that's going to be too. I don't want to use too much resin.
Don't
'cause
you
I'm
already have boxes of terrain unused?
I do.
Yeah, but not this terrain.
Oh, him too as well. All right, both of us do. Yeah.
The terrain definitely takes up the most space.
I've got
It
about
takes up so much.
I've got about
space.
12 large boxes full of it now.
Yeah.
Smaller scale games. It's like, yay!
yeah, perfect there. Yeah.
Look how fucking ickle it is. It's brilliant.
Battletech. Fine for
I mean, we
season
can talk about we can talk about Mad Boys.
You can do.
Sure.
You can do.
Oh fuck. Yeah, right. 1 second.
He's gone to get a fucking book, isn't he?
Red, what energy are you on, man? You're
What? Hang on. I'm going to change my
You're-
shirt. I don't want to make this.
energy's like
conflict.
mad today. I'm like,
He's
what?
always mad. That's what he does.
No, I felt like,
Dim, you were concerning me at the beginning. I thought. I was like,
yeah. I was like, fuck.
Oh,
he's
man, I
not
felt
saying
uncomfortable.
shit.
So
I was like,
I'll just fess
has
up.
one of us offended him, or
I'll
upset
fess
him?
up, right? We started doing it, and the topic was jumping around like a tennis match.
It was, yeah.
Dread was a little too eager and butting in a bit and
Never.
interrupting.
Never.
And I was just like, this has gone to shit. We should have had structure from the start. And I honestly didn't think the video was going to get any better. Fortunately, it
Why
did.
not talk about 9th edition then, eh? Why not, eh? Fuck it.
Yeah, but you're all keyed up, Dread. You're looking for that.
Well, that's why-
argument. It's not that type of video.
That's why I was like, that's why I sort of did the thing of like, what tips have people got? Because I was like, there needs to be a little bit of structure. So I was
No, but that was good.
I was
because...
trying to concentrate on thinking of things that I could bring up that could give us a bit of structure,
Yeah.
and it was like trying to figure that out was what I spent most of the video doing.
We were definitely all a bit nervous going into that. I was anxious going into that one, and I think it took the first 20 minutes of rambling a bit to just get us to settle into a.
Mm.
You didn't spend your day doing research like some people.
We should have done a breathing exercise beforehand, I think, especially you.
Hmm.
Need to chill the fuck out. Captain bouncing off the walls.
Oh, no, I'm
You.
feeling totally.
Where are
mean
you
today.
going? Fucking Club Tropicana? Fucking hell.
I got
I heard the drinks are free down there.
Mad. Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure you'll have your work cut out for you.
Oh yeah, yeah. Seeing as Dread managed to be louder than that fucking shirt.